Here I have some OEM axles with 125k miles on them that came from an Celica, an 01 GT manual Celica. I'm going to put them in my 00 GT manual. I had aftermarket axles, or at least when I first got my car, I don't know what axles were in there, but they were failing, so I replaced them with aftermarket ones, and then those ones failed after 3 years, and they're still in the cars. But so I bought these ones, if I could maybe zoom out. These are OEM axles that I got from eBay for like 70 bucks each. In an Instagram post, I actually cleaned these up. They were kind of badly rusted on the threads. But this one needs a little work, and that one down there needs some work. This one actually needs a tiny bit of thread repair. I already did some, but not correctly. So there's the nut will thread on here, but not right. So like the nut is on the thread, but past this point it just needs it. Gets a little more rough when it really shouldn't. What I did was I took this wrench here and I just tightened it along the threads a little bit carefully until it would bottom out as much as I could, and then I think it got down to like maybe right here-ish on the threads, not all the way down. You hear that squeak? So what I'm going to do, which there are correct tools for this, the reason I'm going to do it this way, these are new axle nuts, and I could always get more, but there is an actual like thread repair tool for this thing. I'm going to tighten this down with some WD-40. And we're on a cardboard setup because that one does need a boot replaced. What I'm about to do, I wouldn't recommend doing this with the axles, especially if these are the ones on your car, but these ones are not on the car, and if I do end up breaking something, I can easily replace it. So just bleed the WD-40 a little bit, and then I'm just going to tighten it. So down toward like the middle of the threads is not easy, or like it's fine with the tool, but not by hand. Like I think right here, yeah, it'll stop right there, and then it just goes up, and then just the middle threads are bad, but I mean it's enough to thread. This thing goes on quite smoothly actually. It's just the middle threads, that's what I'm trying to say, but it's fine now. This one on the other hand is the messed up one. The beginning threads are almost non-existent. I would think the best way to do this without the tools that I have is to take it to a shop or someone. There's a dedicated tool for this, which I'll put on screen now, but I don't have that tool. So my option is to use this pair of gardening shears, which I think are stainless steel clippers or something. I call them industrial scissors. I'm gonna try to like this and see what happens. No matter what I try, this will not thread on here. It won't even cross thread on there. It'll just, well, I guess it'll try to cross thread on there, but it just won't. It just won't. So what I'm doing right now is taking my pocket knife. I don't know if it's steel or aluminum, but I'm shaving at the threads here, both this one and this one, just to give it something to probably bite to, which is what I'm trying to do. Good news and bad news. Good news is that my silly attempts to resharpen the threads with my knife worked, and I can get it kind of threaded on there. The bad news is that it doesn't go more than like a 1/16 of an inch. And I'm trying all I can to tighten it with just what I have. This is definitely improper thread repair, and I'm this close to seeing if anyone in my town can does have a thread repair kit, because I'm sure someone does for this. Or I could just probably pay someone to just fix the thread. I can do the boots. The threads, trying. I'm holding the boots to tighten this, and the more I do that, the more grease just like comes out. I mean, it's like, look at that. That's where the grease leak is, by the way. It's just this tiny spot right here. It's also why I got a new boot. I cannot do the thread repair on these axles, so the next thing I'm going to try to do is the boot replacement, which I didn't even grab the boot yet, but I'm going to try boot replacement. You're going to want to take a flathead screwdriver and I guess pry this open somehow. This is the first time I'm doing it. I bought gloves for this exact reason, but screw it. Took a knife to get that off, actually, not just a screwdriver. Can I pry this out at all? How do I... Ew, grease. Yummy. Definitely not a required tool, but very, very helpful to get this boot off. I don't know if I would be able to do it with just the knife, which I just touched the blade, but gardening shears, like 10 to 15 bucks at Home Depot, did wonders. Sorry for the very horrible camera angle. I intended on breaking these 2 clips, by the way, which I could probably still reuse them if I tried, but I intended on breaking them. If you'll ever wonder what an axle looked like without the boot or the grease, here you go. Like, I'm sure the axle is fine, but if there wasn't that one small tear in the boot, I wouldn't be doing this. But oh my gosh, this is grease for being green and dark like this. I think is all right. I think this grease is honestly fine, but this definitely Instagram shot right here. That lava soap from a previous Instagram post that I made really works. Next, here's the old and new boot side by side. I don't know if I can get all that old grease out. I hope I don't need to. If I could just like add new grease to it, that would work. Also, I'm gonna get some gloves on. With using some gloves and a paper towel, I scooped out, scooped out a lot of the grease. I'm gonna get more gloves and more paper towels and clean up what I can, and then try to fit the old boot on there, or not the old boot, the new boot on there. I have a certain cone tool that's meant to do this. It'll take me a little bit to figure out how to get this on there, but I'll make it work. Kinda still trying to figure out how this works. The idea is boot inside out, facing the smaller end facing outward. Get that bug out of my face. Expand this end all the way down to like here-ish, and then slide it onto the axle. And then inside out again, so that way this will be facing this way around. There's a video on how to do this properly, but this gets done off of the axle. I got to figure out how to push that down and expand it. There is an air compressor tool to expand it, but I would have to go to a shop in town to do that, and I don't want to. From what I've seen, this can be very difficult to do, so I'm going to try, as my first attempt is some WD-40. I'm going to put it, I don't know if I'm going to put it on the funnel or in the boot itself, but I wanted to put some WD-40 somewhere with this, that way it slides down easier. It partially worked. It did kind of what I thought it would do. It acts as like obviously a rubber seal here, so there's a little bit of air trapped in right here, but also it took all the WD-40 with it like you would a squeegee on a metal surface in a kitchen. Or not squeegee, like anyone who works in a kitchen knows what tool I'm talking about, but like either I'm gonna have to bring it back up and use more WD-40 or keep on pushing down on this. The second thing I can do is try a heat gun or putting this in boiling water for a little while. I would rather do the heat gun since that would be easier to do. If you're ever handling tools like this, please be very careful. This thing heats up really quickly, like really quickly. Like just right there, that's already like pretty warm. This thing can burn very easily, so please be careful. The tool I was using tore the boot, like a very small tear, like right, it's one of these two, right here. Very small tear, but not enough to cause damage to the boot to where I can't use it. So I'm going to try to squeeze the boot on like this. Alright, so couldn't do it. I was able to get the boot off, but I have nothing in my power to get the boot on. That funnel was alright until it stopped going any further, and I gave the boot a very small tear, but not enough to actually damage it. Like, can this bug go away? If anything, it was like, for example, like right there, a very small nick in the boot, but I still am able to use it. This is one of those times where I have to pay someone to put the boot on there, or at least find someone in my town that can do it for cheap. I always advocate for doing the job yourself if you know how to, unless you absolutely need to go to a shop. And this is one of those times where, hey, I wanted to try to do it myself. I bought all the necessary tools, and I wanted to do it myself, and I tried to do it myself, but then I couldn't. I couldn't even use these. I bought these pliers just for the clamp. The clamp was supposed to be like, oh, funny, it goes right here, you know? Just like, bam, just like that, but I couldn't do that. Also, what the fuck? Are these pliers okay? These don't bite down all the way. The pliers and that giant funnel I had were only 20 bucks together, so I'll probably just return that, but I need to see who in my town. This axle's completely fine now. The threads were the only thing that were bad, and I was able to fix, quote unquote, fix the threads. To prevent this from getting dirt or any debris in there, I'm going to put a plastic bag over it and tie that plastic bag, and then just shove it somewhere in my house until I can find someone who can not only put the boot on this one, but also restore these threads. Because these threads, it's just this curve right there. I don't know, it's weird. I can't do the threads, I can't put the new boot on. I wish I could. I would if I could. Just a small thought. This would be way worse if I needed this as soon as possible, but not really. My car drives because of the current axles that are in there. These ones are obviously not in the car. This one's ready to install, but I'm not going to install it without installing this one. So like, the rest of the grass is kind of green and growing, but then the spot where the cardboard was, oh my goodness. It's definitely I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but that's definitely a difference there. Well, this is also what happens whenever you leave a car parked in your yard too long. Same thing.